breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, who does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to chat it up with him about what we've all been seeing with the Seattle Mariners recently, the landscape of the American League, and maybe a team or two that he's feeling bullish/bearish on. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letter CM, naming does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions, we did have ourselves a great day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Chicago Cubs take 2 from the New York Mets. Game number 1 goes 10-3 in favor of the Cubbies as Javier Assad gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, gave up a pair of bombs as you had home run number 7 of the season for Francisco Alvarez, mambo number 5 for one Mr. Jacob Young, but from there Ryan Rolson, Caleb Theobar both give you a scoreless inning, and you're able to get 2 shutout innings as well from Tyler Ferguson. Meanwhile, for the Mets, Noah McLean, boy, he got cleaned up. 6 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by Dansby Swanson, his 10th home run of the campaign, and then Michael Busch, his 9th home run season for Swanson. He would then get home run number 11 of the season as Jonathan Pintero comes in and he gives up that bomb. 4 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings, and then Austin Warren, he was able to give you a shutout inning, but way too little, way too late there. And then the Cubs, they put up a 10 spot in game number 2, 10-5. They're able to take down the Mets as for Sean Manaea, 4 runs, 3 of which weren't given up in 3 innings. Oscar Brisbane, 2 shutout innings, and then things go off the Rayleys with Brooks Raley giving up 2 runs over the course of an inning. Luke Weaver, he was able to give you a shutout inning, but AJ Minter, an unearned run given up in his inning of work as, boy, this was rough for the Mets. They had 6 errors in this game. 6! That has to be the most errors in a game that we've seen all season. Devin Williams, I mean, you don't need errors for him to give up runs. He had 3 unearned runs given up in his inning of work, and for Shota Imanaga, not like he was great. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 1/3 innings as he was taken deep in this game by Mark Vientos, 10th home run of the season. Francisco Alvarez goes deep again. 8th home run season, AJ Ewan, 3rd home run season, then a little bit later on, Bo Bichette off of Gavin Hollowell will get his 10th home run season. Hollowell, sole home run allowed in 2/3 of an inning of work, but Hobie Milner, Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, all lend a scoreless inning. So the Cubs, they're getting back on track. The Pirates, they walk the plank to an 11-1 win over the Seattle Mariners. For Braxton Ashcraft, not a load of Ashcraft. 10 punch-outs, 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Carmen Molzinski, a 3-inning save, 3 innings shutout, and Brian Wu is more like Brian Boo. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. From there, you had Nick Davila give up 4 runs in an inning of work. Michael Rucker was able to come in for 2 shutout innings, and Alex Hoppe, not happy about the fact that he gave up 2 runs in his inning of work. As for Seattle, 1 of 10 with men in scoring position. The Boston Red Sox continue their no good, very bad, terrible season. 8-6, they lose to the Colorado Rockies, as the Rockies in this game, by the way, were down at one point by kind of 6-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning as Ranger Suarez, he gives up 3 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings, hurt by a pair of errors out there in the field, and then yeah, things really unraveled from there. Danny Kaluman out of the bullpen squirrels, but Teran Guerrero, he gives up 3 unearned runs in 2/3 of an inning due to those errors. Justin Slayton, he gives up 2 runs in an inning, and Kyle Freeland, well, he continues to give up free runs. 6 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, and he was taken deep twice. It was home run number 1 of the season for Connor Wong and Andrew Mayer-Serio. His 3rd home run of the season. Antonio Sensatella, 2 shutout innings. Jimmy Harrigan, he was able to give you a shutout inning as well, so they get the job done there. And for the Baltimore Orioles, they upchuck defeat from the jaws of victory. 7-6, the LA Angels get the job done. As for the Orioles, they were up 5-2 going into the 8th inning, as Trey Gibson not lend a lot of length, but wasn't too bad here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Ori Soler gets his 11th home run of the campaign. From there, Grant Wolfram, Tyler Wells, Pitch Wells, 2 shutout innings between the 2 of them. Enrique Cano, don't you know that he was able to give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels, but then Uncle Rico Garcia gives up 3 runs in an inning of work. Andrew Kittredge, and out of the bullpen scoreless, Ryan Elsley, he was able to give you a shutout inning, and then Keegan Aiken comes on, and it looks like he's got the win, but as Walt Peraza scores on, there were 3 errors on this play. It was a routine ground ball that just got completely thrown away and booted. So, yeah, not great for the Baltimore Orioles there. And Jose Soriano was not great. He gives up 5 runs over the course of 3 innings, and he gives up a pair of bombs. Samuel Basallo takes him deep twice, 11th and 12th home runs of the season. From there, no earned runs given up by the Angels bullpen. Jay Silseth gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning, but Sam Bachman has scoreless inning. Jose Fermin 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Samuel Natera 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Mitchell Ferris 2 shutout innings. So the Angels get the job done there. The Cleveland Guardians get the job done in extras. 4-3. They take down the Chicago White Sox as you had the opener in Chris Murphy give you 4 outs of the, shall we say, starter spot scoreless before Eric Fetty Wap as a bulk guy. 2 runs, one of which was earned, given up in 4 innings. Not badly Wap there. Brandon Eisert 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless, and then you had 1 run allowed over the course of 2 innings by a main bulk guy in Joe Rock. From there, in the 10th inning, you had a unearned run given up by Grant Taylor. Meanwhile, Tanner Bybee, really good start here for the Cleveland Guardians. 6 shutout innings. Bullpen tried to act this game away. Eric Zabrowski gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Colin Holderman and out of the bullpen scoreless. Hunter Gaddis, Tim Aaron, they combine for shutout innings. Cade Smith, he does give up a pair of solo home runs that leads to extra innings. Randall Grichuk, 9th home run season, and then Bryson Montgomery, his second. But Sean Armstrong, 4 outs out of the bullpen in the 9th and the 10th inning to be able to get this one to the window. And the Guardians, they maintain their above 500 record. Being able to maintain their above 500 record, the Miami Marlins, who have the best record in the month of June in baseball. 4-2, they take down the Walker Texas Rangers for 1. Mr. Jacob deGrom, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Tyler Alexander, a shutout inning, but Cole Winn continues his shaky season as he gives up a home run to Otto Lopez. 6th home run of the campaign, gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Robbie Elstrom from there and out of the bullpen scoreless, and Uri Perez off the injury list gives up a solo home run in 4 2/3 innings as he was taken deep by Wyatt Langford, who's been hot since coming off the injury list. 7th home run season. A little bit later on, Pete Fairbanks does what he does best. Give up a home run to Jock Peterson. His 11th home run season. Fairbanks gives up a solo home run in his inning of work. John King, Michael Peterson, they were the Kings of give you a scoreless inning apiece, and Anthony Bender 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they get the job done over the Kansas City Royals by a count of 5-3. Royals, fewest runs per game of any team on the road in all baseball. No, Cameron, this was rough. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Lucas Ursich, Daniel Lynch, and Beck Way, they'll give you a scoreless inning. Griffin Jacks does not get Jacks up. 2 unearned runs given up in 5 innings. Work pair of errors out there in the field led to those. From there, Cole Sulzer, Kevin Kelly, Garrett Clevenger, and Brian Baker. They're all able to lend a scoreless inning for the New York Yankees. They do find a way to persevere over the Detroit Tigers. This by a count of 4-2 as Tariq Skubal, he only manages to go 6 innings in this game, gives up 4 runs, including 3 bombs. Paul Goldschmidt takes him deep twice, 13th and 14th home runs of the season, and Yeson Dominguez, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Jacob Waguespack, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Emmanuel De Jesus, 4 outs of the bullpen scoreless, and Ryan Weathers, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in 6 innings. Camilo Doval, Fernando Cruz, they combine for 2 shutout innings, and David Bednar, he does not poop the Bednar. He was able to give you a shutout inning. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they find a way to persevere. 6-5, they take down the Cincinnati Reds. As for the Reds, Rhett Lauder gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 2/3 innings, taken deep by Jake Bauers, 14th home run season, and William Contreras is 8th. From there, Sam Ball gives up 3 runs in an inning. DJ Antone, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Brock and Roll Burke does not get Brock and rolled. A scoreless inning, and Shane Drone, not a lot of length, but solid here. 4 1/3 innings shutout. You did have Craig Yoho give up 3 runs in an inning, and Yoho to Spencer Steer getting his 13th home run season. Chad Patrick, 1 2/3 innings, he allows a run. Grant Anderson gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, and then Joel Kuhnel, a 4-out save, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the LA Dodgers, they find a way to persevere over the Minnesota Twins. 4-3 the final as Shohei Ohtani. 3 runs, 2 of which were given up in 6 innings. From there, the Hurt, Kyle Hurt, Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, Great Scott, I'll give you a scoreless inning, and Joe Ryan, not what he was looking for here. He gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a home run to Mookie Betts, who seems to be finally heating up. 9th home run of the campaign. From there, Anthony Banda, Yandris Gomez, Andrew Morris, all on a scoreless inning, but a little bit too little too late out there. Low scoring slog out there in Toronto as the Astros, they get a 3-1 win. Trey Savage does walk 5, but only gives up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Tommy Nance, a scoreless inning. Jeff Hoffman, he was able to give you 1 1/3 innings, gives up an unearned run, hurt by his own throwing error. And then Mason Flaherty gives up a run in an inning. Mike Burrows, who's been awful this year, very good in this start, does give up a solo home run as Nathan Luke's 3rd home run of the campaign, but that's all he'd give up in 6 innings. Stephen Oker, Brian Baker, and Josh Hader, they all lend a scoreless inning. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they persevere over the Washington Nationals. 5-4 the final. second straight day in which the Washington Nationals upchuck a game in which a lead going into the ninth inning as Aaron Nola, he gives up 2 solo home runs over the course of 5 innings. Take it deep in this one by Luis Garcia, 13th home run season. Then Jober Vivas, his 3rd home run season. A little bit later on, Curtis Mead, 13th home run season. That comes off of Jonathan Bolin, who's been bowling his way to a 3.80 ERA, gives up that solo home run in a third of an inning of work. Kyle Bacchus gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Jose Alvarado, Yohan Duran, and Seth Johnson all end a scoreless inning. Carson Palmquist pretty much piggybacked with Miles Michaelis. Both go 3 1/3 innings. Michaelis gives up 2 unearned runs, hurt by error out there in the field by Nasim Nunez, his 10th of the season, and he's not hitting for any average. And Carson Palmquist gives up 1 run in 3 1/3 innings. From there, PJ Poulin farts out the bullpen squirrels, but then Orlando Robalta and Richard Dickey Lovelady, they combine to give up 2 runs in the 9th inning, with Lovelady giving up the ultimate home run to Derek Hill, 5th home run of the campaign. For the San Francisco Giants, they walk it off 2-1. They get the job done against the Athletics. Waste a really good start here from Gage Jump. He got a jump on this one. 9 punch-outs, 5 shutout innings. Justin Sterner, Hogan Harris, Luis Medina, they all end a scoreless inning, and then Elvis Alvarado was in the building to giving up 2 solo runs in the 9th inning. He got 2 outs, but you had Rafael Devers be able to get his 12th home run of the campaign, and then walking it off a very unlikely source, as it was home run number 2 of the season for Victor Barricado. As for the San Francisco Giants, they themselves got a pretty good start out of Tyler Mahle. 5 2/3 innings of scoreless baseball from there. Sam Hentages out of the bullpen squirrels. Ryan Walker, a shutout inning. Dylan Smith allows the solo home run to Max Muncy, the wrong Max Muncy, 5th home run of the campaign. But then Eric Miller, scoreless inning to be able to get the job done there, and also being able to get the job done, the Slam Diego Padres. 5-2, they take down the Atlanta Braves. As for Martin Perez, bit of regression here. 3 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, was taken deep by Ty France, 9th home run of the campaign. From there, the Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. James Karinchak, shutout inning. Tyler Kinley, a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. DDA Fuentes, Ian Hamilton, they both give you a scoreless inning. And for JP Sears, he was rough at the AAA level. Pretty solid here. Gives up a home run to Joey Bart, his 3rd home run of the campaign, but 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. From there, David Morgan farts out the bullpen squirrels. Wandy Peralta, Jason Adam, scoreless 8th and 9th innings to be able to get that one in. And if you're taking a look at what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, last 7 days we have been seeing quite a few unders, as the under rate over the last 7 days more around about 56.5%, 52 unders, 40 overs, and a push. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line hitting at just 52.2%, 48 and 44, and among those 48 favorites, a whopping 15 failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, overall for the season, the over rate is 50.6%, 591 overs, 577 unders, and I believe we're now up to 31 pushes, while favorites on the money line hitting at 55.5%, 647 and 519, while the favorites in terms of covering the run line, 154 of those favorites failed to do so. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trendwise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, over at 710 Seattle Sports Radio on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports on the radio side of things. He does the pre- and post-game hosting for the Seattle Mariners. Additionally, if it's happening out there in the Pacific Northwest, he's got his finger on the pulse of it all. Such a wealth of information that you're able to follow on the old Twitter/X at A Kid From Kent altogether. And Curtis, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, thanks for having me on. And yeah, we're at the exact halfway point of the season. Now, it's not the All-Star break, but it is game 81 for a lot of teams. Lots and lots of storylines bound across Major League Baseball. Got a good read on who the good teams are. Still kind of waiting for some of those teams in the middle ground to kind of pick it up, but we're getting a clearer and clearer picture of what's going on across Major League Baseball right now, and looking forward to diving into it with you.
Absolutely. I feel like we've got a pretty clear picture out there in the National League, but how do you take a look at the American League? Because it still seems about as murky as mud right now when it comes to the American League West. The Seattle Mariners have done a nice job in terms of taking the lead, but they're entering into Thursday one game above 500 in the lead in that division, with everyone nipping at their heels. And I think that it's just an interesting landscape outside the New York Yankees being the top team in the American League, and, well, the Angels, better luck next year, which is what we've been saying for a very long time.
That mud you speak of, it's kind of like, I would say, that's clearer than what we've got going on in the American League right now because, yeah, there's just a lot of just kind of dreck in the AL at this current moment in time. You mentioned the Yankees. They are absolutely running away with things in the AL. Best run differential by a significant margin. The Mariners had the second best run differential in the American League prior to getting drubbed 11-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were at plus 18. Now they're just at plus 8 heading into Thursday. But yeah, it is very much the Yankees and then a whole lot of nothing. Then everybody else. The Rays, they've got the second best record in the American League right now, but I think a lot of people are kind of looking at them as like, I don't know if I can really buy what they're selling. You've got the White Sox and Guardians in the American League Central, kind of jockeying for position atop the division. And then in the West, it's the Mariners right now, but also the A's are nipping at their heels. The Rangers are right there. The Astros aren't going away so soon, at least not as soon as we thought they were going to go away. So, yeah, it is anybody's league right now in the American League. Hard to find a second best team in that league behind the New York Yankees.
Absolutely. It's the Yankees, and then, well, it's the rest of the league. So we've got ourselves a lot of fun there. And Curtis, you've got a lot of fun taking a look at the Mariners right now because they announced about a week and a half or so ago that they're going to be going with the piggyback system, which obviously they've used for Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo. And frankly enough, Bryce Miller is going to be on the bump for Thursday, but apparently it was supposed to be all the starters. Can you give us a little bit more insight there? Because the only guys that we've really seen it for is Castillo and Bryce Miller, and I'm sort of wondering when the rest are going to be coming.
Well, we're not going to have to wait very long for the rest of them to get piggybacked on Saturday. It will be Logan Gilbert with the start, and then Emerson Hancock will follow him on that very same day. Now, what is a very interesting thing, and it has gotten a lot of Mariners fans' frustration, is that Logan Gilbert is the reigning American League pitcher of the week. Like, he has been phenomenal really for about a month now. I would say he's very much in consideration to be an all-star this year for the, at least maybe the Mariners representative at the all-star game. He has been really, really good as of late. So people are kind of wondering, like, why on earth would you piggyback him right now, especially when he's been pitching his very best, not just this season, but really even last year. He didn't look as good as he has looked here from about mid-May to right now. Now, Hancock is an interesting situation because he got out to such a fantastic start this season, was really, the anchor of that Mariners pitching staff for really the season's first couple of months. He's kind of hit a bit of a wall here as teams are starting to figure him out a little bit. Not to say that he's been awful or anything, but he definitely is in a place where I think he's kind of needing to find his center again and really kind of lock in. And hopefully maybe an outing like this will allow him to get back to that level that he was at to start the season. But yeah, I think the big consternation right now is Logan Gilbert going to have a shorter day than normal on Saturday as they take on the Guardians, a competitive Guardians team, a team that is at the top of the American League Central right now. So I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, if Logan Gilbert is, through 4 shutout innings, through 5 shutout innings and hasn't allowed a hit or has allowed maybe one hit, is it going to allow for him to go deeper into the game? Remains to be seen. And based off of the short history with Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo, when either of those guys have been humming along, they have not let them go deeper into the game. So it's kind of an interesting spot to be in right now. The Mariners' best pitcher could potentially be lifted a little bit earlier than I think a lot of people would be comfortable with right now.
Yep, that is going to be such an interesting dynamic because I can't remember the last team to truly go with so many different piggybacks. You see it in the minor leagues quite a bit. You don't see it at the big leagues, as Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And as we know, it's going to be the final game of the series between the Mariners and the Pirates here on Thursday. And I want to get your thoughts on the Pirates because they've been one of the most interesting teams in all of baseball. There have been times where it looks like they can be a playoff contender. There are times where they look like one of the worst teams in all of baseball. You mentioned it. They got the job done and then some against the Seattle Mariners on Wednesday. Wasn't so great for them on Tuesday. How do you look at this team? Because, Paul Skeens is obviously the star of the team, but they've lost a lot of his starts thus far this season. And as strange as it is to sound, it feels like the bats have been more consistent than the arms this season for them.
Yeah, and I look at this Pirates team, they're right there at 500 at the midway point in the season. And I honestly think that that's a good spot for them to be on or to be in this deep into the season, because it still means that they're very much in it in the American League wildcard chase. Not so much in the National League Central race because of just how good the Milwaukee Brewers have been. It feels like the Brewers starting to put a lot of distance between themselves and everybody else. You do kind of wonder like what they're going to be like if O'Neal Cruz comes back, when he comes back healthy. He's been really good this season. Definitely somebody worth monitoring as he remains out. But the pickup of Brandon Lau, I mean, one of the most underrated pickups of the offseason. He has been everything as advertised and then some, leading the Pirates with 18 home runs. And then how about Brian Reynolds bouncing back this season after a tough year last year? He's back near his career averages, looking really good here in 2026. Just looking like the Brian Reynolds of old, looking like the Brian Reynolds of probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Definitely someone who could be worthy of an all-star bid as well. So you look at this Pirates team, Greg, you mentioned it. The bats have actually been a really, really encouraging sign for them this year. And they're doing it right now without Connor Griffin, who has been on the IL. It looks like he had a rehab start on Wednesday of this week. So he's kind of making his way back to being in that lineup. But yeah, this Pirates team, I mean, you can definitely kind of see like there's some good here. Now, Mitch Keller, who has been historically a pretty good pitcher for the Pirates, he has really been going through it the last few weeks. He did have a decent start against the Mariners on Tuesday of this week, but outside of that, he has been pretty brutal over the last 5 or 6 starts. So hopefully they can get him back to looking like, how he's been over the last few years. But you mentioned Skeens. How about Braxton Ashcraft? He has looked really, really good this season. Definitely somebody who I don't think we anticipated him being quite so good this year, but I would say he is very much in consideration for an all-star bid as well with how things have gone, leading the team in innings, leading the team in quality starts, is a strikeout throwing machine, even to the degree that Paul Skeens is, or just about. But yeah, this Pirates team, you squint your eyes, you can see, the makings of something that it could definitely be a factor in the National League. Maybe as soon as this season, definitely, coming up here 2027 and beyond. Yeah, I think the Pirates are definitely a team worth paying attention to now.
Yep, no question about it. I think that's going to be interesting to look at them moving forward, because certainly things have been a little bit less than savory for them here recently after that hot start, but the bats have been there, so they're going to be a team to watch moving forward. As Curtis Rogers, he does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And who are a few other teams that are perhaps on your radar right now that maybe aren't the top teams? Because I think that there's a clear top 4 in baseball right now. The Brewers, the Dodgers, the Braves, and then you've got the Yankees out there in the American League. And then after those 4 teams, I feel like it's a little bit more of a hodgepodge. Who outside those 4 teams do you think could be able to make some noise and could be able to contend with some of those top 4?
I think one team that has gotten off to a slow start this season, but has kind of turned it on as of late, would be the Phillies. I think they're a team definitely who can still challenge, I think, those 3 teams to top the National League. I know they didn't get out to such a good start, but you look at just kind of how they've been able to get where they are. I mean, Christopher Sanchez, he should probably be starting the All-Star game for the National League, especially because it's going to be in his own ballpark. They have not gotten great contributions from Jesus Luzardo or Aaron Nola. Those 2 guys leaving plenty to be desired, as well as Andrew Painter. That has been a big issue for them. But Zach Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez, those 2 guys, definitely going to be all-star locks in that rotation. Joan Duran, I mean, he's been everything you could hope he would be at the back end of that bullpen. I think one of the best trade deadline pickups last year was definitely Duran getting sent to the Philadelphia Phillies for sure. But you look at that offense, Greg, I mean, there's just guys everywhere. Kyle Schwarber leading all of baseball with 1 million home runs right now, 29 of them to be exact. Bryce Harper, he's looked really good this season. And how about the season Brandon Marsh has put together with a 321 batting average? You hardly ever see guys above 300 anymore. He has been just incredible with the bat for them. So I think there's definitely going to be opportunities. Now, it's funny because with the Phillies, we mentioned all the good players on the team, Schwarber, Harper, Sanchez, Zach Wheeler. For as good as those guys have been, there have been a lot of guys on this team that have really stunk it up. I mean, Trey Turner, only hitting 229 right now. Alec Bohm, he's been nothing in the lineup right now. Adolis Garcia, same thing. There needs to be some guys kind of stepping up besides the normal folks that you expect from this team, because I think that's kind of something that might be separating the Phillies right now from that top tier in the National League. But I don't think they're incapable of getting to that level, especially because they have been one of the best teams in baseball over the last 4 or 5 years. But right now, I like what I've seen from the Phillies, especially after the really slow start and then the managerial switch to Don Mattingly. I still think there's another level they can get to, and maybe they make a big trade. They've always been pretty aggressive at the deadline, but definitely worth paying attention to the Phillies, especially considering the hole that they've been able to dig themselves out of.
No question about it. They've been a little bit banged up throughout the season, and you mentioned it. You need a little bit more reliability out of some of those other guys, but the good news for us is that we don't need reliability from too many other people because, Curtis, you get the job done every single time, and this podcast very much appreciates it. You do such a great job out there in the city of Seattle, obviously pre- and post-game hosting duties for the Seattle Mariners and looking at all things in the Pacific Northwest, so we'll let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. A lot of great conversations I've had this week. I spoke with MLB Pipeline's Jonathan Mayo, did a little bit of an MLB draft preview with him. Also spoke with ESPN's Tim Kirchin, who shared a very interesting nugget he learned about Cal Raleigh and the slow start that he's gotten off to this season. Both those interviews available at seattlesports.com. You can also check it out on the Seattle Sports YouTube page. And Greg, always happy to hop on with you, catch up, talk some baseball with you. We're now to the season's second half, so these games ratchet up in importance. The weather's beautiful, so it's summertime. I love it, and I love getting to chat baseball with you here, Greg, and can't wait to do it the next time we link up.
Absolutely. Curtis is such a wealth of knowledge. He does such an amazing job taking a look at this great sport of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by our guy, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He is a pre- and post-game host for the Seattle Mariners every single time he joins me. He lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to our guy, Curtis, for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and the Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. This is the Philadelphia Phillies on the road against the Washington Nationals. Cade Cavalli goes for the Nats, and Christopher Sanchez is on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies are minus 185 favorites, plus 150 to plus 155. That number on Washington. 8 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110 to lay a run half with the Philadelphia Phillies. That is minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to lay that run half. I did set it at a minus 111, so I can't go anywhere past a minus 110, but it's just so hard to fade Christopher Sanchez at this point. The guy has been so amazing this far this season with Christopher Sanchez. Overall for the campaign, posting up a 180 ERA. Recognize they had that one start against the Milwaukee Brewers, but 2 earned runs or fewer allowed, and I believe now 9 out of his last 10 starts. He's got 0.6 home runs, 1.7 walks allowed per 9 innings, a strikeout to walk ratio over 6, 227 fielding pen. And for Cade Cavalli, he has pitched better than the ERA would indicate, so I am going to be in on the under on this game for Cade Cavalli. A 4.07 ERA. That fielding independent is more around about a 3.50. He's only given up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Now, the walks per 9 rate, that's a little bit higher than what you'd like at a 3.3, but overall he's been able to do a nice job in terms of holding down the fort. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, this just has not been a very great lineup. So I did set a total of 7.4, even at 7.5. I would be in on the under. Bryce Harper's been great, over 350 on base. He's been able to give you 16 plus home runs, and obviously Kyle Schwarber has been absolutely incredible. Right now he's on pace for 60 home runs, but has missed each of the last 2 games due to back soreness. I don't think he's going to be back for this game, and that's a big reason why I did drop this total quite a bit. And I'm going to just take a look at the infield. Bryson Stott is sounding at 241. Yip-de-doo there, but like Alec Boehm, Trey Turner, the entirety of the catcher spot. And then if you go to the outfield, what you've been able to get out of Adolis Garcia and guys like that. A whole bunch of guys hitting at 235 or lower. Brandon Marsh's move line, but that's not great. And for the Nationals, they entered in the series numero uno in terms of run creation. C.J. Abrams, 366 on base, 17 home runs. James Wood, give you good Wood, 400 on base. He's been able to give you 20 home runs. And Curtis Mead, Luis Garcia, double-figure amount of homers. They're doing an okay job finding way on. Dylan Cruz has been a bit of a disappointment, but has heated up a little bit recently. Both of these teams have been rough with their bullpen, but I don't think you're going to be utilizing a ton of the bullpen here. As for the Washington Nationals, Orlando Robalta, PJ Poulin, even someone like Richard Dickey Lovelady, these guys have been able to give you a sub-375 ERA. Obviously, looked very bad in the first game of the series in the bullpen. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, Ryan Kirkring, Yohan Dodon, these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Tanner Banks, he's been able to do a relatively okay job as well. But man, I mean, you've still got a lot of guys that have been all sorts of shaky with regards to this bullpen. Jonathan Bullen has not been great. Jay Shogert has been able to go out there, get the job done. But again, I don't think you get a lot of bullpen use. I just can't fade Christopher Sanchez. I'm willing to lay that minus 110 run line. I like the under, somebody told 7.4. 953 and 954 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Mets as Freddie Peralta's on the bump for the Mets. Matthew Boyd goes for the Cubs, and the Cubs do find themselves as a very slim underdog here, minus 105, minus 115. That number on the Metropolitans, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. I did set a total here of a 7.8. I'm going to be in on the under, mainly because I just am not a big believer in this Mets offense. And for the Cubs, you've got Ian Happ along with Alex Bregman, who are number 1 and number 2 in the big leagues in terms of men left on base. Now, you're going to need some length out of these starters because, as we know, these two teams played a double dip yesterday, and there were a lot of bullpen pieces that were utilized on both sides for the Mets. You do have likes of Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Luke Weaver, who've all been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Brooks Raley has been solid as well. A few more arms, in my opinion, than the Cubs, who are dealing with a few injuries. Having Daniel Palencia back out of the fold is rough, but Ryan Rolson has been solid. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Caleb Theobar is starting to toilet bowl, so that's been a little bit of an issue. And Javier Asad, who was supposed to be a long guy for this team, now has had to make a few starts, so that does take a little bit out of them. But it's a big question mark as to what you're going to get out of Matthew Boyd, because if you look at the raw ERA thus far this season, it was a 6. Not great, to say the least, and he's making his first start since May 3rd. But I mean, if you take a look at the advanced numbers, at 235 fielding dependent, he was getting over 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, less than 1 home run per 9. He pitched way better than that ERA would indicate. But also in his minor league rehab assignments, 540 ERA with 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. Freddie Peralta, meanwhile, 483 ERA, more of a 437 fielding dependent, 1.3 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings allowed. But again, he's been a little bit better at home. That goes down to 1 home run per 9 innings allowed at home. And then when it comes to both of these lineups, I do have a lot of question mark here, because you know what you're going to get out of Juan Soto for the Mets. He's been able to give you over 380 on base, 17 plus home runs, and he's pretty much the only guy on the roster that's been able to give you 10 plus home runs this far this season. Now, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, and he might not be able to go today as well. But you do have Carson Benjay, who's been eating up a little bit. He and Bo Bichette, both with 9 home runs going into game 2 of that double dip, both hitting above a 250. Francisco Alvarez, AJ Ewan, they're moving the line a little bit, but when you're looking at guys like Eric Wagaman, Brett Beatty and company, Wet Match in their Dark Cave, and Marcus Semien is useless. And for the Chicago Cubs, lots of guys that give you like a 325 to a 355 on base. Pico Armstrong is now above that, though. 17 home runs. He has been just tremendous over the last few weeks. You've got Matt Shaw back, who's moving lines. A Suzuki closer to about a 350 on base. He's been able to give you 10 home runs, but Nico Horner at Soylent Bowl, Dansby Swanson has not necessarily been so great. Carson Kelly is able to move line, not necessarily a lot of pop, so it's an interesting circumstance. I do think that Freddie Peralta balances out and have Matthew Boyd question marks with him coming off the injured list. So somebody tells 7.8, like the under and the Mets here on the money line, set them at a minus 148, 955, 956 on the card. It's a Diamondbacks. They're going to be on the road against the Cardinals as Michael McGreevy goes for the Cards, and Zach Allen is getting filled up for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are an underdog hero between plus 115 to a plus 113, minus 135 to minus 140. That number on St. Louis, 9 is the total, under is minus 120. The over is even, and with the St. Louis Cardinals, I set them at a minus 153. I'm going to be in on them on the money line. Zach Allen has just been no good, really bad, and terrible thus far this season. 6.10 ERA, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, a career 9, 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. My gosh. Like, this is just really bad. It's not to say that Michael McGreevy's been the Mona Lisa Vito of getting strikeouts. He's only getting 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 335 ERA. The fielding dependent is darn near a point higher because he is a guy that also gives up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but has been much better than Zach Allen thus far this season. And as we know, Zach Allen is always worse when he's away from him. The ERA goes up to a 698 when he's away from home. He's giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings away from home. Yeah, it's rough. And it's not like the Diamondbacks have the world's worst bullpen. It's not the greatest, but I mean, these guys like Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, Jonathan Loaizaga, Kevin Ginkel even. I mean, these are all guys that are giving you a sub-350 ERA. I don't trust in Paul Sewald at the catcher spot. And for the Diamondbacks, it's a team that's slightly below average right now with regards to their overall run creation. It's a team that has had a little bit less power than a season ago, even though you do have Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll. Both give you 12 and 13 home runs apiece. For the Marte Parte hitting about a 262. Carroll's been able to give you about a 355-ish on base. And then Geraldo Perdomo only hitting about a 234, but his on base has been okay. Nolan Arenado, Tommy Troy, these have been guys that haven't necessarily been able to give you a whole heck of a lot. And Lourdes Gurriel has been awful thus far this season. For the Cardinals, very interesting home and road splits because overall they're 12th in the big leagues in terms of run creation, but I mean, these guys have been merchants away from home thus far this season. 5.3 runs per game away from home, a little bit less than 4 runs per game at home. You've got J.J. Weatherholt, though, give you over a 360 on base. Nelson Velasquez has been hitting darn near 300 in a small sample size. Jordan Walker, 18 home runs. He's hitting a 290. Ivan Ramirez give you a 4 on base. Need a little bit more on some of these guys, like a Mason Wynn, doesn't necessarily give you a lot of pop. Pedro Paz at the bottom lineup hasn't been great, but Bryce Jordan has been able to give you something as well. For the Cardinals, they do find themselves in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Ryan Stanek, along with Matt Savanson, posting up over a 5 ERA has not been great. And Jojo Romero has been regressing a little bit along with Riley O'Brien, but George Soriano, Gordon Gasefo, they're giving you a sub-350 ERA, so I do think that the Cardinals go out there, get the job done. I do like the Cardinals here on the money line, and right now I'm seeing a smattering between 8.5 and 9. If I can personally get an 8.5, I'd rather have an 8.5 over rather than a 9 under personally. 957, 958 on the card. The Tampa Bay Rays play host the Kansas City Royals. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals. Ian Seymour on the bump for the Rays. The Rays are minus 140 to minus 149 favorites, so hoorays for being a favorite. Plus 118 to a plus 123, that number on the Royals. 8 is the total over and under, both at minus 110. Seeing a straight 7.5 with the over at a minus 130, under at a plus 110, but I'm going to be in on the over. I did some total at 8.2. For Seth Lugo, he's doing a really nice job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. Not the world's worst swing and miss stuff, not the world's greatest swing and miss stuff. Right around about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.7 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. So 369 ERA, 364 fielding dependent. He has given up 300 runs for fewer than 4 of his last 5 starts, so he's been pretty presentable for the team. And even with the fences moved in at Kauffman Stadium, home and road splits are very similar thus far this season. Meanwhile, for Ian Seymour, throughout his career, he's actually been a much better starter than he has been coming out of the bullpen. Overall for the season, 498 ERA. He's getting the 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has been allowing about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. But I think that that's a byproduct for him being a fish out of water. When they were trying to throw him out of the bullpen to begin the season, you take a look at his career splits, and as a starter, 344 ERA, he's given up less than 1 home run per 9 innings coming out of the bullpen. More like 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 466 ERA. Now, he is backed up by a bullpen that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Cole Sulzer, Garrett Clevenger, these guys are giving you north of a 450 ERA. That said, you've been able to get some relatively good production here. Casey Lugumina, Cam Boozer in a Rays uniform, but able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Brian Baker is someone I like what he's able to bring to the table as well. And then you really have a big 3 with the team in terms of moving line, getting on base. Junior Caminero, Yandy Diaz, and Jonathan Aranda, all at least a 370 on base going into yesterday. Diaz and Aranda, 12 home runs apiece. Junior Caminero, 16 home runs. And then you got Chandler Simpson, one of the better base stealers in all baseball. 17 stolen bases, hitting about at 265. Not going to give you any power, but hey, Nick Fortes, Hunter Fiducia, these guys at the catcher spot have been solid. Johnny DeLuca coming off the injury list has been able to about a 270. Other end of things for the Kansas City Royals, they entered in the series dead stinking last in terms of road run creation. They're getting a little bit better, but now you're dealing with Bobby Witt Jr. having an injury. That's not great. You've been able to get a little bit of something out of some of these younger guys, like John Rave has looked relatively good in a small sample size out there in the outfield. Cameron Misner has been relatively okay as well. I'm just wondering how much that's going to be a mainstay. I like Jack Aguilar, 13 home runs, about a 350 on base. Lofton is starting to move the line as well, but you don't really have a lot of pop with Salvador Perez. About like 10 or 11 home runs at a 250 on base. Just absolutely deplorable right there, and I do think that for the Tampa Bay Rays, they do a nice job in terms of getting to Lugo. I like the over semi-total at an 8.2. With the Rays, made them a minus 147, so we'll only up to minus 146 on that money line. 959, 960 on the card. The Tigres are going to be playing us to the Astros. Tatsuya Amai is on the bump for the Astros, and Troy Melton is on the bump for the Tigers. Tigers do find themselves as a favorite here, minus 115, minus 105. That number on Houston. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even money. And with the Tigers, I did set them at a minus 118. So I'm going to be willing to lay that minus 115. Now, Troy Melton is very much doing for regression. You take a look at what he's been able to do in terms of the ERA at a 256. That's not going to be a mainstay. 541 fielding, depending on 1.7 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, while only getting about 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He gave up 4 home runs in his start against the Minnesota Twins, but only gave up 4 total runs. He was very lucky that they were all solo home runs, so there's that aspect of things. But he does get to go up against the Houston Astros lineup that it's just very top heavy. You have to love what you've been able to get out of Yordan Alvarez, over a 430 on base, 25 home runs, and then Christian Walker, he's been able to do a nice job. He's been able to give you about 18 or so home runs, but he was left out of the lineup yesterday. Isaac Paredes is for about a 250 with 10 home runs, but very much a pull hitter. Jose Altuve is just a shell of what he used to be, and then these guys like Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith, Jake Myers, all these guys out there in the outfield, and get 230 or worse without a lot of power. And Yunier Diaz, he hits for a 246 batting average, but 3 home runs and less than a 285 on base. Then for the Tigers, this has been a bottom 7 team in terms of run creation themselves. You have quite a few guys currently on the injury list for this team, still dealing with the injury to Javi Baez. They were getting back Gleyber Torres, but Gleyber Torres is back on the shelf as well. But when it comes down to it for the Tigers, you still do have a few guys that are going to be able to get on base, and Riley Green along Kevin McGonigal. They both have been able to give you 375 on base, but Spencer Torkelson has been a big disappointment. He has given you about 10 home runs this season, but the overall batting average that has been all sorts of brutal. You've been able to have Dylan Dingler really go yard. He's been able to give you 17 plus home runs, but these guys like a Matt Vierling, they had to get rid of Zach Sharp because he was so bad. Jake Rogers, Wencio Perez, who had that freak like exercise band injury, what have you. A lot of guys towards the bottom lineup hitting at 215 or lower. But for Tatsuya Mai, he's been able to turn the corner a little bit for this team, but you still do have to have a few question marks with him because for Mai, the command has been all over the place. 6.15 ERA, 1.3 home runs, 5.3 walks per 9 innings. Clearly has good swing and miss stuff, about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's now given up 8 runs over the course of 6 2/3 innings in his last 2 starts as well, so that causes a little bit of question mark. And for the Astros, they continue to be a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. It's improved recently. Getting back Josh Hader helps you out. You've had Brian King be able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA along Steven Okert, but Aniel De Los Santos has been an issue. Brian Abreu has just been absolutely terrible for the team. And for the Detroit Tigers, I do like what Kyle Finnegan is able to give you. He's been able to give you an ERA that is below a 3. You've got Tyler Holden, who has been able to really be able to get his season turned around. About a 350 ERA out of him, but Will Vest has been rough, and Kenley Jansen, not a lot of trusting him. But that said, I do think that the Tigers do just enough to be able to get the job done, and they can get some scoring here. Did so by total at 8.7, so I do like the overhand. I'm going to be in on the money line of the Tigers up to about a minus 116, minus 117. 961, 962 on the card. The Rangers are on the road against the Blue Jays as Kevin Gausman goes for the Jays. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for Texas. Texas is back to being an underdog, plus 125 to a plus 130, minus 145 to minus 155 is Anaheim, Toronto. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even money. And with the Rangers, I did set them at a plus 135. So right now we are seeing in a lot of places about a plus 130 or so. When we get the dime lines out, we should be able to get a plus 135. That would put me in on the Texas Rangers, and I do recognize that Mackenzie Gore has not been good away from home. For Gore, a 407 ERA, but closer to 354 fielding dependent. 0.9 home runs per 9 innings allowed. When has been an issue for him has been, for one, the walks of 4 walks per 9 innings, and I was alluding to not so good away from home, 5.75 ERA away from home, but only 3 home runs given up in 42 thirds innings away from home as well. And he goes up against a Blue Jays team that they're really good in terms of not striking out. Top 3 team in terms of fewest strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. You've got Kazuma Okamoto, who's been able to give you 17 home runs. He is like the lone guy on the roster for this team that's been able to give you double-figure amount of bombs. George Springer is starting to get into the act a little bit, but he's not hitting for a lot of average. You do have quite a few guys that hit for average, though. Jesus Sanchez, Ernie Clement, who's right now dealing with a little bit of injury, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Nathan Lukes, all these guys hitting at least a 275, but for Vlad, 4 home runs entering into yesterday. You need a little bit more there. Davis Schneider has been about as useful as a poopy-flavored lollipop, and for the Blue Jays, your main guys, Tyler Rogers and Louis Varland, have been great in the bullpen. Brandon Fisher, though, he's starting to regress a little bit. Mason Flaherty is looking quite a bit better. That is a good thing. He's down below a 4 ERA, but it's a herky-jerky sort of bullpen. And for Kevin Gausman, he does a nice job in terms of not issuing a lot of walks. Swing and miss stuff is not quite what it was for his beginning part of his career. It's not like it's terrible. He's right around about, I would say, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, so about 2 walks per 9. But still, he's been getting banged around a little bit with a 4.04 ERA. I believe he's pitched better than this. And for the Rangers, this has been a lineup that has been a little bit roadie thus far this season, but they're averaging about 3.7 runs per game at home. Away from home, that goes more into the neighborhood about 4.2 to 4.3 runs per game. You've got Josh Young, who's been able to hit just darn near below 300 for the team, and then Wyatt Langford, Brandon Nimmo, don't call his name, Alejandro Azuna, Ezekiel Duran. These are all guys hitting between about a 260 to 270, so they're finding guys move the line. They just don't have a lot of power. Jake Berger has been able to give you 10 plus home runs, but past that, it's been a little bit of an issue. But for the Rangers, they also do have the far better bullpen in this game. The Jacob Junitz, Jacob Latz, Tyler Alexander. I'll give you sub 350 ERA. Cole Winn has had his issues, but I do think that for the Rangers, they do find a way to be able to get the job done here. And do you think that 7.5 is a little bit too low? Somebody told 7.9. I like the over, and at a plus 135 or better, the Rangers money line 963, 964 on the card. The Yankees are on the road against Boston Red Sox as Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. Connolly early on the bump for Boston. Boston is a underdog of plus 135, minus 160 to minus 165. That number on the Yankees. 8 is the total. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 120. Over is between even a minus 110, and I do like the under. I set my total at 7.7. Cam Schlittler has just been absolutely amazing for the New York Yankees. He continues to give you a strikeout to walk ratio that's well above a 5.5, and he does a great job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. Right now for Schlittler, only giving up a half home run per 9 innings. Strikeout to walk ratio is officially 6.06 with 10.3 strikeouts, 1.7 walks per 9 innings, 171 ERA, 213 fielding independent. This guy has gone out there time and time again and has gotten the job done, and it's not like he's just doing it at home, which recognize the Yankee Stadium can sometimes be a little bit of a bandbox, but 112 ERA away from home. And for Connolly early, he's been a relatively solid pitcher thus far for the Red Sox. I do think that there's a little bit of regression doing with that 364 ERA though. 47 fielding independent, 1.5 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Does get right around about 9 punch-outs per 9 innings. And for the Yankees, even without Aaron Judge in the lineup, they've still been able to average right around 4.7, 4.8 runs per game. So it's not like the offense is completely toilet bowled. You've got quite a few guys who are still doing a nice job, like a Cody Bellinger or Paul Goldschmidt, giving you over a 355 on base. You've been able to get a little bit of something out of someone like an Jose Calabreu, setting about a 260, and then Ben Rice, 22 plus home runs, 375 on base. Could still use more out of the catcher spot. There's still a little bit of shakiness with Ryan McMahon and company, but they've been able to do a solid job there. For the Yankees, it is a bullpen that's a little bit above average. With regards to ERA, you've had Camilo Duvall and David Benner be a little bit of a roll of the dice, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the likes of Brent Hedrick, Fernando Cruz, sub 3 ERA out of both of them. Ryan Yarbrough is a young, long guy, is able to give you a sub 4 ERA, and I do like the fact that Paul Blackburn has been able to give you some nice length as well. For the Red Sox, this continues to be a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA now. In that series at Coors Field, that was not great to say the least. Aroldis Chapman completely blew a game, but he's still been able to give you sub 250 ERA. Greg Weisert after a rough start to the season, he's rounding into form. Garrett Woodlock continues to give you a sub 3 ERA, but for the Red Sox, they have been absolutely awful with their offense at home. They are 12-25 record-wise at home with 3.4 runs per game at home. Wilson Contreras is doing his part. 16 home runs, about a 375 on base, and then you have a poo-poo platter of different guys there between, we're going to call it about a 334 to a 356 on base. Connor Wong, along with Isier Canera-Falefa, Ceddanne Rafaela, Weiler Abreu. If you want to throw in there Nick Sogard in his very small sample size, you could do so as well, but I'm really not a lot of power outside of that. I recognize that Jarren Duran has been able to give you now 12 home runs as far as the season, 10 coming after May 1st, but I mean, a 258 on base. Caleb Durbin has been about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop. Do think that Cam Schlittler goes out there, shuts it down. I do like the Yankees here. I set them at a minus 169, so I'm going to be willing to lay that money line. And if you're looking to lay a run half with them, I was willing to go pretty much even money or better. Right now, that's plus 105. If I can get plus money on the run line when it's all said and done, I'd rather look there, but some form of capacity in on the Yankees, most likely that run line, and like the under semi-total at a 7.7. 965, 966 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Pirates as Bubba Chandler is on the bump for the Buccos, and Bryce Miller is on the bump for the Mariners, and the Mariners do find themselves as a favorite here between minus 140 to minus 145, plus 120. That number on Pittsburgh, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And with Bryce Miller, I did set him at a minus 122, so when we get the timelines out, should be able to get like a plus 125 or so on the Pirates, and I'm going to be in on them on the money line. I recognize that for Bubba Chandler, the command issues have certainly been there, as his walks per 9 rate is a little bit north of 5, but he still has really good swing and miss stuff. He seems to be rounding into form a little bit more, still has a 4.62 ERA, but he's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, and he gets to go up against a Seattle Mariners lineup that just frankly has not really been that great this far this season. They're still in the bottom 10 in terms of overall run run creation. Now, Kyle Raleigh was able to hit a home run a little bit earlier in the series, so he looks to be rounding into form, and getting back J.P. Crawford, I think, is really big for the team as well. For Crawford, he's only hitting about a 227 with regards to the average, but more around about a 354 on base. You've got Julio Rodriguez, who's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He hits about a 250. Josh Chandler's hitting about a 250, and you get back Randy Arozarena as well. He and Dom Camzone are guys that give you over 350 on base. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, they have been, for the most part, a top 2 team in terms of run creation at home this far this season, with about 5.3 to 5.4 runs per game. They're still dealing with the Oneil Cruz injury, but Jack Magnum has hit it just below 300. Same goes for a Nick Gonzalez, and then Spencer Horowitz, Brian Reynolds. They've been able to give you over a 380 on base. For Brandon Lau, he has been able to get loud. He's been able to give you 18 home runs. He's been the main boom guy for the team. And for the Mariners, along with Bryce Miller, has been absolutely incredible. A 157 ERA, 280 fielding dependent. He is giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings, but less than 1.5 walks per 9 innings. They do piggyback him with Luis Casillas at 522 ERA, giving up about 1.4 to 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Now in the bullpen, Edward Bizarro, Jose Ferrer, along with Gabe Speier, I will give you a sub 325 ERA, but Matt Brash, Cooper Criswell, they're on the injury list. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Dennis Santana just has not been great in this bullpen thus far this season, as he's seen his ERA go well above a 350. Isaac Madsen has not been amazing. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez has been messed with. Justin Lawrence was so bad that he got DFA'd. So it's an interesting circumstance. Plus 123 or better. I'm going to be in on that Pirates money line, and I do think that you get a little bit of a lower scoring game. Miller's been amazing this year, and I think that Chandler's rounding into form. Like the under sub, I tell it at 8.1. Wrap things up with 967, 968 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road facing off against the San Francisco Giants, as Landon Roop goes for the Giants, Jeffrey Springs for the Athletics. Athletics are plus 110 to a plus 115. Meanwhile, minus 130 to minus 140 is that number on the Giants. Total on this game, 8.5 to 9 on the 9 under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8.5. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And for the Giants, I set them at a minus 138, willing to lay up to a minus 137 with them. Landon Roop has pitched much better than his ERA would indicate, as his fielding dependence is right now in that neighborhood of about a 3.415 ERA. He's got 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.6 home runs per 9, and Jeffrey Springs has been a little bit better when he has been away from home rather than at home. Overall, 5.55 ERA. He has allowed at least 4 runs at each out of his last 4 starts, but 3 of those starts came in either lovely Las Vegas or Sacramento. That'll jack up your ERA because he's got overall 2.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and not to say that he's been amazing away from home, but a 4.28 ERA. Less than 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And for the San Francisco Giants, they've been a team that's been able to get on a little bit of a tear with their offense here in the month of June. They've been averaging nearly 4.7 runs per game, but a lot of that, again, has come away from home. You look at their home and road splits, and right now for the Giants entering into the day on Wednesday, only averaging about 3.8 runs per game at home compared to about 4.4 runs per game away from home. Now, you do have quite a few guys that are moving the line. Casey Schmidt has really been the main boom guy for the team, as he's hitting in that neighborhood about a 285 or so, and he's been able to put up 16 home runs this season. Matt Chapman has looked a little bit better, but I know it's all about the likes of Jung-Ho Lee, Bryce Eldridge. These guys were hitting above a 275. You've been able to get a relatively good showing out of Daniel Susich at the catcher spot as well. Willie Thomas, Rafael Devers, both with 11 plus home runs. Neither guys really give you over 305 on base, so you're going to need a little bit more there. And for the Athletics, this has been a top 12 team with regards to run creation. Nick Kurtz, Shea Langoliers, they've been able to give you 19 home runs apiece, and Kurtz, one of the best at drawing walks in all of baseball. Right now, over a 430 on base. And Tyler Soderstrom, very silently, this guy has really been able to get on a tear this season, as he's been able to give you about 13 home runs, overall about a 245, 250 average. But I mean, over the last 3 days, hitting for nearly a 450 on base with 8 home runs. So that's been big for this team. You've had Zach Aloff be able to give you a little bit of production as well. Now for the Athletics, this is a bullpen that's went straight down the toilet bowl. Luis Medina, Jose Suarez are posting up all above a 4 ERA. Hogan Harris, he's seen his ERA go above a 350. Justin Sterner's been relatively okay in this bullpen, but I don't trust him. Mark Leiter Jr., Scott Barlow, these guys are a little bit over the hill. And for the San Francisco Giants, it has been a bullpen that has been a little bit up and down as well, with Keaton Wynn being on the injury list. That's an issue, but Caleb Killian, he's been able to give you sub 325 ERA. Matt Gage has seen his ERA go up a little bit, but I think that there's a little bit of upside here with Eric Miller. Ryan Walker has been a little bit of a disappointment, but again, it's all with quite a few injuries. And in this pitcher-friendly ballpark, do think that you get a lower scoring game. We'll delay up to minus 137 on that Giants money line, and I do like the under. I set my total at a 7.6, and that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to our guy Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, they mean it does not matter, so as per usual, please choose to send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.